Good afternoon. This is Media Center Ukraine, Odesa, and we continue our work. You can watch us online on the YouTube channel and on our Facebook page. If you have questions, you can ask them online. Just scan the QR code that you can now see on your screen. Our speaker is Dmytro Pletenchuk, spokesperson to the Ukrainian Navy. Good afternoon, and we are happy to welcome you here. Let's start with the situation in the south of our country. The Azov Black Sea region is more or less stable because of this a range of factors. The first is the most important. The armed forces of Ukraine and other defense forces of Ukraine made enemy to leave to its official coast. And I mean, the ships, the missile carriers that was taken from this area, there is a big part of fleet still in Crimea, but it cannot have a significant impact in this water area because these are ships of another type. So we made the enemy to leave to Novorossiysk and the missile carriers. That's why the situation is more or less stable. But still, we have Russian airplanes over the water area of our country. And their main objective is to do everything possible to intimidate the civilian navigation. They don't still make such attempts. But there has been a storm at sea, and the ships, Russian ships, could not go from ports. But the sea is more or less calm, and now we can see that their ships just went from ports from Sevastopol, but these are not missile carriers. And this is a trawler, and they have some tasks near the coastline, and they could be used more for defense. The situation is more or less stable. It is we could anticipate it, and we can see how it has effect on the new sea grain corridor. We can see increasing trust of foreign companies, of crews, ship owners to Ukraine in this corridor. It is very important to have trust at this level because the crews are also very important, and that's why it is good if they can trust us. After the missile hit the foreign vessel, have you seen any decrease in those who are willing to use this grain corridor? No. That was a pause because of the storm, because of weather condition. And these are high tonnage vessels. Such storms as we have recently had it's not that dangerous for big vessels. These are ocean-class vessels. That's why it is not so critical for them to navigate in such weather conditions. As for Russian ships, theoretically they can go to the sea, but they would not be able to use the weapons. But the situation is more or less stable. So the storm season is coming. Will it have an impact on the military situation? At the front line, when it is rainy or the weather is bad, the guys can just have a rest. And I do remember that feeling when you can just sleep for 6-7 hours. And I remember that feeling back in Kherson. It's just like a pause. Predators could not hunt if it's bad weather. And in this case, no drones, no aircraft there. And when they said that their jets could not be affected by weather, it is not true. That's why we can see such pauses in the future during winter, but we should not relax, we should not ignore air raid alerts. Nothing has changed when it comes to our duties. We have our schedule, and for us, for the military, nothing changes, but we hope that civilians will have some break. Coming back to civilian navigation, will it affect the civilian navigation? As I've already mentioned, these are big vessels. These weather conditions are not critical. Yes, there were some incidents near the Turkish coastline, yes, with the vessels from Odesa. They had some problems with anchorage, but this is more the issues for civilian navigation. And I saw such a break during heavy storms. Well, this is more about civilian infrastructure, but as for Russian ships, they were not able to leave port. And there, if I'm not mistaken, the Ukrainians have had now 3 bridgeheads on the left bank. Was it a surprise for Russians? We should never underestimate our enemy. We should never underestimate enemy's fleet or army. The fact that we fight with the idiots makes our task easier, but the numbers of idiots are so huge that, of course, this makes our life more difficult. Of course, they had been monitoring the situation. They saw what was happening. It's just that they couldn't do anything against that. I cannot make any conclusions. There is some information I cannot disclose, but when it comes to the Navy, the Marines continue performing its tasks on the left bank. They are professionals, and of course, with the support of other units of the Navy of Ukraine, they will be able to perform their tasks. And you know that now it is about the Dnipro River, and it is impossible to solve issues without boats there. And it is said that this is a significant success of the armed forces of Ukraine, that will allow to open the way to Crimea. That's what experts say. Experts can say everything they like, and it is very difficult to anticipate the military situation. It is impossible to fully anticipate the behavior of the enemy. And when it comes about experts, we should be aware of their knowledge and experience. We cannot make conclusions with the historical parallels or using textbooks. In our case, we can expect anything from our enemy because of its nature. That's why I will not try to anticipate anything. We will see. We will see how the enemy tries to solve its tactical and strategic tasks. And we can see that now the gap between the missile carriers and the military base. So the Caliber missiles are now in Sevastopol, and the ships are in Novorossiysk. And they need to cover the distance in 300 kilometers. They need to open the passage, and they understand that this is dangerous, and still they cannot transfer the logistics to Novorossiysk. When they try to relocate their ships to Dobs, hoping that they will not be able to notice them, and this will increases the distance even more. That's why this is mind games, the game of tactical talents and skills. Thank you. Dear colleagues, do you have any questions? No. We don't have questions so far. The head of the Navy, in his interview to New York Times, said that the war at sea can be won only with the new solutions that should be made as soon as possible. And these drones like Marichka has been introduced at sea. Could it affect the situation? When it comes to Marichka, we need to understand that such drones are now at this stage of construction and testing. It is not officially used by the Navy, but we have a brigade of drones at Navy. We use different types of drones. Surface drones and underwater drones. Yes, this is a new format, and actually this is the new format, but this is a mainstream in modern wars, and the driver now is Ukraine, and Azerbaijan was the leader in using these aerial drones, UAVs, but now the initiative is on the side of Ukraine, and we use not only UAVs, but also we use sea drones and land drones as well, because the modern war makes us move forward, and the main trend in the civilized world is the development of drones, and because this is the biggest to spare lives of people, which is the main asset, and because it's easier to construct a new robot than to train a human being that takes decades. Because professionals envisaged the years of training. Because that's why our people are the main asset, our main capital, and the same attitude is at Navy. And when it comes to anti-mine ships, that is the part of our anti-mine division, are robotized. We use systems that allow us to work at distance. We can find and deal with such explosives remotely. And any country which is a maritime state, and if we want to preserve the status of a maritime state, not just a sea state, a coastal state, we need to invest in the development of drones and to use the sea platforms. And I can make a simple example. Now we have the artillery coastal units that have been renewed with the full-scale invasion. These are well-known Neptunes and Harpoons, and they allow us to keep the enemy at some distance from the coast. The enemy is aware of this, and they don't even try to enter the water area. And I would like to remind that the water area covers the Zmyny Island and the so-called Boyka's Towers. And if we put such platforms on a ship, then of course the application area will be expanded, because the ship can go to the sea and again make activities at distance. And we as a maritime state should develop the Navy. We should have big ships, big cruisers for specific tasks, because small ships cannot be used as a coverage against aircraft, and it has not the capacity to use radars, for example, to monitor the undersurface situation. And the next year, we hope to have our first corvette of Ada type. And this is a very difficult process, even in NATO countries. When they receive a new boat or a new ship, it should take 1 year for the crew to master this new ship, to understand all the devices, equipment to make it automated. This is a long-term process, and we should expedite our activities, and it will take a year after we receive a new corvette for the crew to master it. What will be the functions of the crew? We cannot disclose this information, but I can say that this is quite a powerful unit with different types of weapons, and it can perform the whole range of tasks at sea. These tasks are very important to protect our water area and also to counteract the enemy.
Вчаться дозаправляти міги.
We can now see that Russians learn how to just refuel their MiG jets. What does it mean? It's the approach of Russia, the common approach of Russia. They want to intimidate us, they want to blackmail us, and this MiG jets is a message not to us, but also to the NATO group in the Mediterranean Sea. And we should also take into consideration the Arabian-Israeli conflict. And but if you believe that Russia will dare to use the air of the NATO countries to launch their missiles. But there is the game of this crazy Ivan. And of course, at any time, they can use their Kinjal missiles. But for us, and nothing will be changed if they use them in Crimea. And the distance is like 1,000 kilometers, and it was covered from the north, from the east. So, of course, the situation is more intense now, and they are now in the. And it is discussed at different platforms at international level, where they try to find solution how to deal with that. And this can also increase the hatred of Ukraine towards Russians. And it is difficult to hate them even more. But, of course, I believe that this will raise awareness. And I saw some people near a mall, in a supermarket, waiting for an air raid alert to be over, and of course they cannot but think about me, about the Russian Federation, and of course this what Russia does it makes Ukrainians hate it. Thank you. There are no questions of our colleagues. Thank you for joining us today at the Media Center Ukraine Odesa, and this is the last briefing for today.